Well, hi, it's me. Who's me? I don't have to tell you again. We met last time when I did my icebreaker warm-up. Isn't that funny? Warm-up, icebreaker. Go figure. I don't want to get into that because I'll get way off track. Today, what I wanted to do was quickly go over what I'm concerned about. I don't know about you, but things aren't right. I'll tell you what, I'm 71 years old, and I can tell you that, I've never seen anything like this here. So, what are my concerns? I'm just going to read them. Pull it down. First, I would like reliable, trustworthy news. Just one source for trustworthy news. Right now, I use Ground News, and I really do like them. Why? I don't know how much of a slant is on the news. That's not what I'm looking for. But my particular interest is that they show which issues the left read or pay attention to and which the right, and then where there's a balance. And that kind of thing is very interesting, and I think it really gives you a pulse. Although I certainly don't have a pulse, I don't still have a hard time thinking the whole thing will come off. But I think it's not too much to ask to have reliable news. With that said, I doubt that anyone has ever had reliable news because people are the ones that print the stories, and everybody's got a gig, either trying to impress the boss or trying to find something new or whatever you're looking for. I want to talk about history and how it's all really screwed up bad. Oh man. Whoever thinks about history, you just assume that it's there for you. Kind of like coming into the world and expecting to have truth given to you about the past or about the world you live in or about anything. Why do we have that expectation? Because the news is owned by the people at the top, and that's always been the way, and it always will be the way because that's how you control people, right? So we have that expectation that we're going to get one side, but if we have free speech, we get to hear the best and the worst of both sides, of all sides, and decide for ourselves like intelligent human beings. But we're programmed, and we're so programmed, it's pathetic. And I've been trying to look at, different things that programmed me to see things a particular way, which is another whole topic. So, number 2, knowing who to trust. It bothers me that we don't know who to trust. I have some people that I follow that I trust, but I also know they're human, and I also know that they are targeted and they're limited, and trying to coordinate the stuff is almost impossible. So it's really identifying who to trust. Even if it's me identifying who can I call, Or if I can't call them, who can I get to? Or who do I trust to talk to me about if this medication is right or if I should do this? We know that the government just now put out that we can be physically moved or removed for just almost nothing. And I shouldn't be commenting on the bill or on the record because I didn't read the whole thing. I just skimmed it, and I heard someone else, a couple people talking about it. It's definitely something I need to go back and read and make available. It's that's one of the things that kind of puts me over the edge. And then this cell phone stuff about them, they've got hold of everything. And it's funny as you look back and you think how excited we were to have cell phones. And I remember when my sister-in-law, who sold Motorola, asked me, do you want a BlackBerry? And I was like, or a raspberry or banana, what? You know, I didn't have a clue. But since then, oh my goodness, Siri and everybody expects that to be there. I don't use it because I don't like people knowing what I'm doing or anything, and I know they already do know, and I'm sure they know way more than I want or would like to know. However, I'm going to do my best to avoid it, so I don't use her anywhere. And I don't wear a watch on purpose because I don't want that technology affecting me, and I know that it does. I know that it does. It's like a TENS unit, for God's sake. If it's conducting us, right? It's like, you know, the whole Botox thing scares the hell out of me. They can sell anything and tell you anything. Really. There's no rules. And so people are getting Botox in their face. I understand that some people have to do that for health, to keep their eyes open or different things. I get that. And then you just have to weigh the consequences of doing it or not. However, if you're doing it to be more beautiful, you're already beautiful enough. Oh, honest, really. You know, when we put dye on our hair, it goes through our head. When we put a pain patch on our arm, it goes into our system. When we put makeup on, our system takes it in. Same with the sun rays. So it just doesn't make sense. Talk about programming. Look what I found the other day. So cool. So this is the Saturday Evening Post from 1958. And, okay, so let's just look at programming here. The girl's watching TV with an apple, a piece of cake, and grapes, and milk, and her school books. And the baby's in the bed crib. Okay. So then here you've got advertising for cars. And then an advertising for a high potency capsule. And then another car where you can ride on air. And this is an ad for a file. Okay, there you go, a boat. Now, you know, for some reason, I don't see what I'm looking for. Isn't that funny? Look at that pink washer and dryer. Too cool. Okay, itchy scalp. Life insurance. Okay, well, forget me. Well, this is just, these are so cool. I haven't looked at this one. I just assumed it was like the rest. So Here's probably one I should have shown you. Life, the Miracle of Greece. So that was especially important to me. And it had some great pictures. But right on the back is Steve McQueen, isn't it? Oh, it looks like him. Smoking a Marlboro. Okay, then Pepsi. Skis. All these happy college people. It's talking about Radcliffe and all the great kids there. There's more content in this one too than I expected. Okay, then the part about Greece, which I can't wait. I'm gonna have to just, like my friend says, edit this out, and then he never does. This is Campbell's soup with the sandwich. Isn't that cool? I think I ate tomato soup every day of my life when I was in school and ate at the cafeteria. And look at this Swanson TV dinner. You got to be old to remember those. Well, at least they didn't come in plastic, right? Cigarette machine. All right. Sorry about that. I guess I'm gonna have to edit that out. No go, didn't work. I didn't know. I know I saw it somewhere, but oh well. All right, so trustworthy news and how the news programs us, even if we're getting news, we're being programmed by it depending on our paradigm, right? One of the most interesting things to me is that when I was asked to go to Salvador in '87, it was supposed to be dangerous, and I wasn't even sure who we were going for. I'm still trying to find that out, but we went there to minister to the Salvadorian soldiers, and prior to going, my husband was a John Birch Society coordinator, far right, and I worked at the camp with him and did the events. And Larry McDaniel had been shot down right at that time, and so I had an idea of what was going on, but politics just really, really depressed me. So I just couldn't do a whole lot with it, but I knew basically. And there was a guy in Jacksonville, Woody, I can't remember his last name, on the radio, Jones radio station that I was on, talking to him about it later. I'm getting off topic. The movie Salvador came out. I watched it intently, and I had this paradigm of how things were going to be. And when I got there, when I came back, I remember thinking, oh my God, none of it was like what the movie showed. And I had reason to really understand on a first-hand basis, and I can show you some pictures and do a story on that one day, because that was really eye-opening. My point being that I had a paradigm going there with expectations of what I'd find, and it took a while for me to realize that it wasn't near anything like what had been projected. Now, what if I hadn't gone to Salvador? I would have come away thinking the total opposite of what was intended or what I went there with. So it's interesting when we look at our paradigms. And Covey, Stephen Covey, was big on paradigms, and he would show you the one picture, and half the room would look at it and see an old hag, and the other half would see this beautiful woman with a hat. So our paradigms mean a lot. They're like a set of glasses, and we need to identify them so that we can see how we see. If that makes sense. 3. Okay, 1, news, reliable news or free speech. 2, knowing who to trust. So if we have free speech, we'll know who to trust, but then on a more personal level, knowing who to trust around you, who's educated, who's knowledgeable, that kind of stuff, right? Okay, 3, here's what else I want. Earth issues. I want people to understand the earth, the great year cycle, the events that go along with it, so that families can prep. I hope to God it never happens. I hope to God this is crazy. But it's not what the experts say, and I've spent a long time and paid a lot of money to try and understand what's happening at Earth. We're in a cycle, a great year cycle of 12,000 or about years. And there's a lot that happens. We've seen a lot of it. The skies, we're not supposed to see auroras in the skies like this. All the skies, all the weather manipulation. I don't know if that's good or bad. Is it good or bad to manipulate the weather? Well, I at first thought it was bad, and I got mad every time I go out and want to take a walk in nature, and I'll be damned if I didn't look up in the sky and there are these strange clouds. And you just knew they were either covering up something or manipulating something because it wasn't real. And I'm a photographer, not like a big deal photographer, but I take pictures. I probably take average 300 a day on most days. So I'm always looking at the sky and then looking back at pictures. And pictures have helped me a lot along this way to learn about science, because I've always loved science, but I never took time to study it. And I wondered, I get concepts well, but I'm really hard to get details if it's not interesting, if I'm not hands-on doing it. So I've got lots of books here that have been helpful. This little book I love is called Practical Electricity. Isn't it the coolest little book? It's a little bit hard to read, but it's funny. The person said it's a United States Marine Corps book of someone, and they lived in Bel Air, Maryland, which is where we didn't have a horse farm, but we knew people that had a horse farm, and my dad would take care of the racehorses there. Okay, so it's copyrighted, reprinted 1944, but copyrighted 1924, New York. So this is just like simple for somebody like me. It just really lays it out. If you can see, these textbooks from back then, I'll pick up a second grader's geography book and go through it and can't pass the thing. It's crazy what they knew. I guess they had a lot more time, etc. But I've got books on plane geometry. I just got one on magnetic phenomena and chemistry, advanced geography. Some of these map books are wild. I've got one on UFOs for a long time ago, and this one I'm enjoying elementary botany for plants and just understanding what's editable. And I love these two. They're all about the soil and what makes up the soil and, crop farming and just different things, but they break it down so perfectly. I've read this, the little one. Anyway, that's what I do at night. And what other? These are just the books that I've purchased since I've been here. I'm always looking for books. Old ones. I don't buy anything that's after 1960. You'd be surprised at how awesome the books are. Okay, I'm not getting off on the books. How'd I get there anyway? Okay, because I was trying to understand science and astronomy, and those weren't the right books, but, well, yeah, they were. Electricity and all that. So, we need to understand that. We can't understand it if we don't know we're missing it. And that's one of my big pains me about the Bible, because they, just harp on, you are not of this world. Well, okay, I get that. That's okay. Maybe we're reincarnated. Maybe we came from another world. Maybe we're aliens in this world. I don't care. We're dependent on this world. We are dependent on the sun. We're dependent on the earth. We're dependent on water. We better damn sight take care of it. And it should be our first priority. And why wouldn't that just be a no-brainer? I don't know. We have been programmed that we don't need to worry about it, particularly the conservative Christian group. They don't mind driving the gas guzzlers and all that. I used to be the same way. When somebody told me there might be a climate issue, I would say, well, hell yeah. Climate's been changing since we came here. Like stupid. Like I knew something and I knew nothing. And then I'd make fun of the little girl, and gosh, she had a right to be crying. After I figured it out, the problem is they've manipulated the news to make all this your fault and my fault, when it is not. It can't be our fault. It can't be. I have a picture, which I'll get to in another thing, showing the satellites around the earth. And then you see Elon taking off here, and meteorite pieces coming in. And the UV rays everybody's talking about, and how it's changing DNA because we don't have filters, and we're seeing the aurora and all that stuff. But we're not of this world, and we're not supposed to understand it. And you know why? Because you'll understand what's happening. And then you'll get afraid. And they can't do anything to fix it. But we can learn about it. And we can gather together and understand it and figure out, from what I understand, there are ways to survive it depending on where you are. So we can learn. And we can do things like I've got, I don't know where I put it, over here. Up here in this county here, they did a big prepping thing and gave out a lot of stuff. They gave out a thing of Narcan and COVID test and all kinds of books to identify trees and mushrooms and all kinds of coloring books. And I'm just going to do that when I get home and put on an event for people who want to prep. You don't have to go all out prep, move and live in the woods on a tree, but how about getting water, extra water and extra food and and making sure you've got enough for your children to have water or food if you have a flood, or making sure that you know how to reach your grandchild or your child if you have no cell phone. Those kinds of things. Or what if you can't get your medicine? Then what? Is there something you can do? Because we know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I posted them, that there's like 264 catastrophes that are supposed to happen in the next 10 years, or once a year for the next 10 years, or something crazy. And you don't think it's happening because it's not happening to us. But we just had the 2 hurricanes, and there are fires, and there's stuff going on all over the place. There's a typhoon in the Philippines. We just don't hear about it because we don't get news. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4 is to have healthy and sufficient food. And we knew we were going to have food shortages. That's why they're trying to encourage insects, and that's why they're using all kinds of things instead of chicken. And who knows the extent of all that. I got sick when I started looking into it, and that somebody else can do that. But I know where what I eat comes from, for sure. And then you've got the border problem, which adds to the lack of food shortages that every expert says should be coming. 5, clean, safe water. Why don't we teach people to filter water? Is that so hard? That's what I want to do with this event. That's what I do with Wilderness Journeys, which we're getting ready. That's a whole nother topic. But I've got a company that we're building with some other women coaches to take women in the woods and teach them that they can survive if they need to, how to get water, forage for the right food, stuff like that, and have fun and learn about ourselves with this system that I'm building. Okay, so number 6, communication if the grid goes down. What do they do in the service? Why can't we have something like that for emergencies, or at the fire departments, or people know ahead of time what to do? Okay, 7, I'd like to know what jobs will be available in the future based on AI, and people who need to work, what do they need to get trained on, or what skills do they need to adapt and to learn living with a much greater AI presence, because that's all but here. It's everywhere. Everything around us is changing. 8, medications and mental health. Healing, noise, confusion, all the medications, everything's crazy. I have a couple gurus I follow. Dr. Campbell is probably the main one, and I can list those, but that's something we need. We need help. Number 9, information. We need information about what's really going on. What's really going on the moon? What is it? What's going on up there? We know there's a lot going on. What's going on in the sky? What's going on with all this manipulation of the clouds? What's our weather really like? How much are you manipulating it? Just so we know, what should we look for? There are things like square waves that indicate, I think, a tsunami or something. I can't remember, but I've got pictures of them. And my pictures are really valuable in looking back. Okay. knowledge is power, and power is truth, and truth is freedom. And that's what I'm after. And the last thing is the apathy in the programming. We've got to be aware ourselves of what happens to us. We are heavily programmed from every direction. They've got our cell phones, they've got the tablets, they've got the computers, they've got the TVs, they've got our cars, they've got everything. You know, they got the whole world in their hands. Yeah. And I hate it, but it's here. What can we do? What can we do about it? Because what we've done is give them all the information they need when they say, here, Google's free. I remember when people said, if you're in business, you better get Gmail because they give you this, this, and this free. Well, everybody jumped on Google Gmail, right? And you knew if a business person was with it, they probably had Gmail. Well, guess what? We did their work. They didn't have to go out and do surveys. We fed into their little machine all the information they needed to know about us. And now it's interesting because they're calling for people to bring their cell phones in to get a new one at Verizon. Well, either the new one is going to have a little more screw on you, or they need something in the old phones, or maybe both. But you can bet your boots that it's those things. I know, I've gotten really, yeah. Yeah. I was so angry for so long. I blocked people, I unfriended people. After I found out about the Bible, I would get on Facebook, and I am typical ADHD. I am so impulsive. And I could just see people saying stuff. Jesus loves me. God saved me. Oh, we won. Thank Jesus for that. And all this stuff I used to say too, not to that extent, because I never could talk the Jesus stuff. But I don't know why. But I would see that on Facebook and I would think, you poor lost soul. Because you're deceived just like I was deceived. And it's not right, damn it. Okay, so am I against religion? No. I understand that religion goes back farther than probably we even know that anybody knows, right? You make up. Well, but a lot of the religions, most of them, or probably all of them, are based on the sun and the stars because they were trying to keep track and pass down information about the solar system, which really rules us. It does. It is where our feet are. We need that ground and that air and so, where was I? So, I lost my train of thought. I got irked. I would see them talking about Jesus, and I would see them as these people who are so programmed that they can't get their head out of a toilet bowl. That's how, and I think the anger was at me because that was me. And I'm not dumb. And I was so programmed to stay in the one book. I read that damn book and read it and preached it and married people and did funerals and set up international programs using that book. And the whole time, nothing changed. I got stronger because I was going to get stronger. But you know what? I got stronger because I was reading Scott Peck and Stephen Covey. And I'm telling you, Stephen Covey, you might think he's a Christian, he's a Mormon, but I'll tell you what, he was reading that ancient stuff because I can tell you exactly where he got it all. And that's one thing I'm using a lot of to do this wheel, this cycle of life for people that want to do the wilderness journey thing, which I found incredibly important. But I was so angry, I had rage over deception. And it's like people with their pants down and they didn't know it. But then most of the world believed it. So I was the weirdo. And no one will even give you an audience. That's how it is. I begged pastors, begged them. Let's talk. Let's talk online. Let's have a debate. Let's share information. And I would put things on there when they would make a post. I'd put something on there like, that's not true, or who wrote the Gospels or something like that. And I think they probably just talked about me like I was the devil or something. But I was trying to get somebody's attention. That, hey, there are issues here. And maybe the Bible needs a little accountability and inspection. Thank God I met the people I met. Like Doug Vogt, he cleared up so much for me. Every step of this path has been ordained. Yeah, there's still some spirit here, even though I'm a non-religious person. It's not the religion that's the problem. It's the deception. It's using religion to manipulate people. And you do that when you make up stuff that is not true, that has no historical value. You pretend that it does. I spent years studying characters of people that never damn lived. Now that irks me. It makes me so damn mad. So I have a whole probably year of the work I did to prove the Bible was BS. I don't want to upset anybody, but it is. Okay, then I wanted to say that I have nothing to prove. I don't. I just highly value truth. And I don't know how we're going to make it without truth. I don't know how we can continue. I didn't want to go into talking about theory because that's a whole hour. But our paradigms, the theories that we use, really cause us to see things, or our programming cause us to see things in a certain way. Now let's just take, for instance, Israel. The Christian church is all about Israel. Why? They're the chosen people. The Christians are just grafted in. Thank God the Jews will have us. Well, they wrote the book. They made it all up. Are there bits of truth? Yes. But is it historically accurate in any way? No. And I could go on and on and on. So when are we going to, so the church they don't pay any taxes, and yet we have the mega churches. And look at the churches. When you drive through this area, you've got more churches than you've got homes. Yep. Steeples on everything, which is something I'm going to prove by Jolly, that those steeples were conductors. That's why there were so many of them. But I'm of the opinion, we're not going to get into that. Okay, so where were we here? I don't have anything to prove. I've always loved communicating. I've done one hell of a lot of work, and I don't want to see it go for naught. I would love to see people embrace the truth, be courageous enough to ask the hard questions, and not just assume, and not just be a sheep repeating what you hear. It's so bad once you get outside. It's almost like living in Stepford and you're not in it. I just want people to seek the truth, to understand their purpose, to know ourselves, so that we can invest ourselves wisely with this life experience that we've been given. That's it. I've got so much more. It's me signing out. Thanks for being with me.